Okay, it's 3 p.m. and we'll call the regular council meeting for March 25th to order. And I please ask Councillor Dunham to read the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. The town of Innisfail acknowledges that we are meeting on Treaty 7 territory, the ancestral and traditional territory of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Kainai, Piikani, Siksika, as well as the Tsuut'ina Nation and Stoney Nakoda First Nation. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3, within the historical Northwest Métis homeland. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit who have lived in and cared for these lands for generations. We are grateful for those traditional knowledge keepers and elders who are still with us today and those who have gone before us. We make this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation and gratitude to those whose territory we reside on.
All right, thank you, Councillor Dunham. And we'll move on to 2.1. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes, Council. Under 8, Section 8, be a new 8.1, so bumping down the rest of the reports. It's a report that was missed in the agenda package. It's the proposed amendments to Dodd's Lake Outline Plan. So you'll see that RFD come up at that time.
Okay, thank you. Could I please have someone make a motion that we accept the agenda as amended? Councillor Dunham.
Mayor Barkley, I'd like to move that motion.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? All right, carried. Then we'll move into 3.1, the regular council meeting minutes for March 11th. When somebody's ready, could I please have you make a motion to pass those as presented? Councillor Maceros.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I'll move that.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any changes to the minutes? No? Okay, all in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you. And then the agenda and priorities meeting for March 18th. Councillor Bates.
I'll move those minutes.
Okay, thank you. Any changes? Okay, all in favor? Great, thank you. Okay, so we'll move into 4.1 and 4.2, the public hearing. So I'll hereby declare the public hearing relating to the Dodd's Lake Outline Plan, as well as Bylaw 1470A80 now open. Just to give the gallery a bit of an overview of the public hearing. So we'll have the introduction of the bylaw and the amendment to the outline plan by administration. And then I will call to hear from anyone in the gallery who is in support of the bylaw and the amendment. And when you do come forward, please state your name into the microphone, as all of our council meetings are recorded. And after that, I will call to hear from anyone who is in opposition. So to begin with, I would invite Manager Shaw to come up, please, and introduce these changes to us. Thank you.
Can you go to the PowerPoint? Oops. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So today we are considering a proposed amendment to our land use bylaw, as well as a proposed amendment to the Dodd's Lake Outline Plan. So in your packages, you should have a copy of a PowerPoint presentation. So that gives you general background, as well as considerations as we're going through the public hearing process. So this particular parcel was created back in the 1890s. It's approximately 1.1 acres in area, and it is also currently vacant. Municipal services are located within the 59th Street right-of-way, and land use on 59th Street includes single, semi-detached, and row house dwellings, R1C and R3 districts. The Upper Vista Phase 1 residential high-density district, R4, is located to the north and northeast from the subject property. Phase 1 of that development is to be townhomes. And that was an approval that you did last year for that property. So with respect to land uses within the R3 district, permitted uses include accessory residential buildings, as well as apartments, fourplexes, home occupations, class 1, row housing, stack row housing, and show homes. Discretionary uses are accessory buildings and uses, adult care housing, bed and breakfast establishments, child care facilities, home occupations, class 2, multiple housing developments, parks, playground, and public uses, religious assemblies, and secondary suites. So this particular property, it was previously changed in 2015 by Bylaw 1470A35. It went from residential single-family district, R1C, to a direct control district, DCD. And this was to accommodate a proposed multiple housing development containing up to 3 detached or 6 semi-detached duplex dwellings. That development did not proceed. Then back in 2018, by Bylaw 1470A56, it went from direct control district to the residential single-family district, R1B, which is its current zoning. Now, today, what you are considering is a land use change by Bylaw 1470A80 from residential single-family district, R1B, to residential multifamily district, R3, to accommodate a 12-suite adult-oriented building. So this particular parcel is subject to a certain section in the land use bylaw dealing with special setback regulations. So notwithstanding yard requirements prescribed in the land use districts and section B of this particular section and in the land use bylaw, no building shall be constructed within 12 meters top of bank of the water body adjacent to Lot A, Plan S. The Development Authority may require the applicant to submit a survey prepared by a licensed Alberta surveyor to confirm the top of bank. So with respect to the planning framework, no amendment is needed to the municipal development plan or the North Area Structure Plan. There is an amendment needed to the text and a map of the Dodd's Lake Outline Plan. Amendments to non-statutory plans are done by a council resolution and not a bylaw. So with respect to the outline plan, there needed to be some wording done with respect to some text. So we are amending clause 3.3 by changing the second sentence to R2 duplex and R3 townhomes will be located throughout the plan area with multifamily sites proposed around the lake. And then to amend Table 1, land use statistics to reflect the proposed use in Plan S, Block A, and civically described as 5052 59th Street, and then to amend Figure 3, which is the land use concept map, by changing the designation of land for this particular block from residential single-family district to residential multifamily district. So with respect to the outline plan, these are more technically oriented type of amendments. There's no real substantial change to the outline plan itself. It's more a matter of accommodating the proposed use within this plan. And so then you can see in the next diagram, the triangular yellowish color parcel at the top of 59th, that's presently shown as R1B. That would become R3 within the outline plan. And so as I indicated, fairly technical type of amendments to the outline plan. So why this is happening is that there is a proposal that constitutes 11 two-bedroom suites and 1 3-bedroom suite that you can see there in your package. And so there are some elevation drawings that's provided to you as well, looking at a 3-story complex. So with respect to the public engagement component, so the amendments were advertised in the March 5th, 12th, and 19th editions of the Albertan. There were over 100 property owners notified by mail. At the time that this package was prepared, there was one phone call that was received about the proposed amendments. We have received a few other comments. So with respect to the property owner to the northeast of this subject parcel. Their consultant had contacted me this morning, so I'll just read to you what they had indicated. Peter had sent me, this is Peter Sal, had sent me a few comments on Fridays about this. I explained to them that this parcel of land has always been identified as residential, not part of the open space and access via Thompson Avenue. I think the biggest change is potentially doubling the density and a 3-story unit versus a 2-story unit. Not sure if EverTrust will have any additional comments, and we have not received any comments from EverTrust directly for this proposed amendment. And then there was another email sent this afternoon from a landowner who is in attendance today, and what he had indicated was, in February 2023, I met with you to discuss the requirements to build a single-family home on this property. You informed me that the original embankment needed to establish, as it had been removed years ago. Once this was established, a building could only be constructed 30 meters back from the embankment, which then reduced the size of the building that could go on this property. Zoning this to R3 would mean some type of multifamily home similar to Dodd's Lake Manor. Would the same conditions apply to that type of building? Would adequate parking be available on the property? Questions to be considered. And so we have responded back directly to the applicant, but as I indicated, he is also in attendance today. So what is the role of a public hearing? It is a legislative requirement when a council considers the zoning change to a property. This gives the public the opportunity to voice concerns directly to a council about a proposed amendment. Administration provides the background to council, as what I'm doing here. Those in favor of the proposed amendment are given the opportunity to present to council. Those against the proposal are then given an opportunity to present to council. Following the conclusion of the public hearing, council will make a motion to close the hearing and then may or may not consider second and third readings of a bylaw later in the meeting or at a future one. So council considerations today, what you're looking at. When considering this amendment, you are looking from the standpoint, is this in conformity with the statutory planning framework and compatibility with adjacent uses of land? The suitability of the land for the proposed purpose, including the density of the development, adequacy of vehicular access, water supply, sewage disposal, etc., and the risk of flooding. So administration reviewed this proposal based on the municipal development plan showing the site as residential. The Dodd's outline plan shows the site as residential. Previous amendments to the land use bylaw identified various intensities of residential use on this property. You had the 2017 housing discussion paper identified diversity in housing to encourage people at all stages of life and situations to remain in the neighborhood and the community. You also had the 2022-2025 strategic plan identified that land use decisions result in a diversity of housing products being available. The Power of Place Community Economic Development Strategy identified one of its strategic principles being the creation of a housing market that effectively aligned the forces of supply and demand. And then you also have the 2023 Housing Needs Assessment, which identified a current unmet demand of 31 or more housing units for singles, such as apartments or row housing, and at least 24 or more housing units by 2031. And so that concludes administration's presentation during this public hearing.
Okay, thank you, Manager Shaw. Okay, if there's anyone in the gallery that would like to speak in favor of this amendment and bylaw, could you please come forward? Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Glenn Carrott. obviously I'm in favor of the proposal. Things have changed and the town is growing. There's a definite need for adult living, and we feel we can do an upscale, nice piece of property on Dodd's Lake for people that are looking at getting into retirement. There's been a definite need for many years for this type of property or this type of facility in the town, and we're short. 38% of our population's over 55, so they need. All I can say is there's been a need for this for a very long time, and with the north end being developed in a similar manner that was put forth and approved on, I think it goes hand in hand with that North Lake development.
Okay, thank you, Glenn, for coming forward. Does anyone else would like to speak in favor of the development? Okay, if not, then I would please ask anyone who opposes this amendment and bylaw to please come forward. Welcome, please just state your name.
Yes. My name is Lori Greenwood, and this is my husband, John Erdelli. My father designed the development going in off of behind 59th Street, and we live right in the circle beside the new development that Glenn wants to put in. And I really don't have a problem with going forward with getting what he wants to do, except that would put us right beside a large parking lot. We have concerns about the roadway going in is over 50 years old, and we don't know if it can take all the trucks with all the potholes. We believe that a new road should be taken as going in. I realize there's 37 feet curb to curb. I'm not sure if that's inside the curb or outside the curb. I talked to Gord. I think that was just up. I had a phone call with him, and cars are 6 feet wide. I think standard, you need 8 feet wide on if they're parallel parking on the street. How are they, they're having trouble just picking up our waste now with the large trucks. To get into the driveway, they're going to have a dumpster. They're going to have to get in there. Right now, our garbage trucks, they can get in. Sometimes they can't back up around that circle, so they back all the way back out. And as for just an example, as for there's more apartments, et cetera, needed, there is 2 or 3 duplexes 2 doors down from us that have been empty for 2 years. Or more. So that is Red Deer Housing, and have they been informed? You know, we have to look at every avenue about this, and it will ruin our view of the lake because we're backed on to Dodd's Lake, and we grandfathered the only other dock on Dodd's Lake. My family has been on this property for over 100 years, and I think I'll let my husband take over a bit from here.
Basically, one of the big concerns, realistically, garbage pickup, it's now going to be a container, big forklift vehicle. Even with the development of the property, the amount of dump trucks as well as concrete trucks, is the street capable of handling these full loads? Or will it have to be upgraded with different type of asphalt, concrete? I'm not sure. Is the fire hydrant that's located just to the west of us, is that enough to provide sufficient firefighting services with regards to this new development as well as the current housing that's there? Also, with regards 12 units, 12 parking stalls, is there visitor parking? Or shall that flow out onto our street and in turn create more havoc for what we have right now? With regards to garbage pickup, even right now, as I drive down the street or up the street, if there's an oncoming vehicle and vehicles are parked on the street, someone has to jump in an empty position to let the other vehicle by. And again, as Lori had mentioned, with these big BFI trucks coming to remove future garbage, as well as the vehicles that are going to have to come up and down the street with regards to concrete trucks, as well as dropping off materials, that's just going to create havoc at the end of that road. And with, also with that is I'm not sure what the plans are because I can't really see the grades of the property, but obviously it will have to be leveled to current grades of the existing homes. And if that's not the case, how will you remove the sewage and storm without a lift station being provided on the property? My understanding in past development approvals for this property were that a lift station would be required. Now, is that just more noise pollution and something that the neighboring people will have to listen to day and night because of this, or that's a simple grade issue? So this is, another thing that we would just like to rectify and understand.
Okay, thank you. What we'll do, John and Lori, like later on when we discuss the changes, proposed changes, and we will put some questions to administration and they can answer that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one more thing to add. Also about the nesting birds, the new development has to follow those qualifications. I'm wondering about this as well, because it seems that Dodd's Lake has now become, a clean lake. And will those laws or rules be the same as it is on the larger development plan
Okay, thank you.
with Ted Chow? Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward who's opposed to the amendment and the changes to the outline plan? I don't see anybody. Okay, are there any further comments from Manager Shaw?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So with respect to some of the comments that have been brought up, those would be addressed through the development review process. What you're looking at here is from the standpoint, is this a parcel that is suitable to be changed from R1B to R3? And so, yes, there are a lot of comments that have been brought up here, but again, those would be reviewed through the development review process. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Manager Shaw. Does council have any questions for Manager Shaw? No? Okay, well, if not, then I will ask somebody to please make a motion that we close the public hearing. Councillor Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I so move.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? All right, carried. And just so the gallery knows, we'll go through the rest of our meeting, or quite a bit of our meeting, and then when we get to 8.1, that's when we will revisit this application. So we'll move on to, and if anybody wants to leave and doesn't want to stay, please feel free to get up and leave. That's okay. It's entirely up to you. So we will move into 5.1, request for decision on the CAO report.
Thanks, Mayor Barclay. Hello, Council. Just to be brief, the CAO report is there for your consideration. The one item I'd like to bring to your attention, recently there was a vacancy on Council's Policing and Safe Communities Committee, looking for council direction support to appoint Bob Schulte back to the committee based on your consideration.
Okay.
Other than that, it's there for your information.
Okay, thank you. Could I please have someone make a motion to accept CO Becker's report?
I'll make that motion
Okay,
to
does
accept.
anybody have any questions? No? Okay, all in favor? All right, carried. And we'll move on to, I'm sorry.
There's another motion. How do you,
Oh, yeah, sorry, I wasn't looking at that. I was looking at something.
I'll-
And then
I'll
we'll have
move, I'll move that council appoints Bob Schulte to the Policing and Safe Community Committee for the remainder of the vacant position with the term ending October 27th, 2025.
Thank you, Councillor Bates. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, and then we'll move on to 5.2, Council Action Control. And if somebody could please make a motion that we accept this as information. Councillor Dunham?
Mayor Barclay, I'm happy to make that motion.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Or nothing? All right, all in favor then. Okay, carried. And we'll move on to 6.1, surface improvement contract with Director Kennedy.
Thanks, Mayor Barclay. So have in front of you a request for award for the 2024 surface improvements project. A little background, in total, we have 8 areas that we're looking at doing surface improvements this year. 46th Avenue and 45th Street both are going to be paving projects this year, where we completed the infrastructure in 2023. 46th Street is a mill and overlay. There we'll be looking at doing milling, asphalt, concrete repairs, as well as paving. 39th Street Crescent entails some sidewalk, some catch basin repairs, as well as asphalt removal and repaving. 40th Ave Mill and Overlay, that's over by the Boston Pizza, just for reference. That's a mill and overlay as well, where we're doing some concrete repair. And then we have a few areas of paving, lanes, 46th Street, 44th Street Crescent, as well as 60th Ave. We'll be doing asphalt removal and paving. The 7th one is the sports field, some trail repair in that area. And the last one is the Highway 54, 42nd Street crossing, where we'll be looking to do overhead pedestrian lighting, signage, as well as some highway signage and line painting on the highway. Tenders for the project was closed on March 5th, where we had 3 contractors submitting bids. Border Paving was the low bidder at $1.249 million. Tenders were evaluated by Tagish Engineering, where no unbalanced notice or items were noticed, with their recommendation to award the contract to Border Paving. Total project, including engineering, testing, and carrying a 10% contingency, comes in at $1,484,993. This is under the estimated value of the projects of $1.695 million, where we funded from the LGFF and CCBF funds. So in regards to public engagement, we will be looking at sending out notices once contracts are completed with the contractor information, as well as a proposed schedule to tenants, people on the streets there.
Okay, thanks, Director Kennedy. Could I please have someone make the recommended motion? Councillor Maceros?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I move that we approve the award of the 2024 surface improvements contract to Border Paving Limited for $1,249,295 to be funded from the LGFF and CCBF.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay, through to Director Kennedy. Question that I have is on background number 8, signage at 42nd Street and Highway 54. That's also awarded to Border Paving. So you're grouping all of these together.
Correct.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. I didn't realize they did signage and.
It's subcontractor work.
Oh,
But we
okay.
did it all as one tender.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Heistad?
Yeah, my question is to Director Kennedy. As to the signage, is it similar to the signage that we have at the library where you have the big pole? Like, Yeah. So I was just curious how the cost of that, you know, from within the contract. I was curious. I remember the last time we purchased the pedestrian one. I think it was about 40 grand. So I'm just curious on numbers. That's it.
Yeah, no worries.
Offhand. Thanks.
Councillor Eisted. Project value for that one came in at about 160,000. This one we are doing, it's a highway, so it's extended significantly, as well as the one on the east side of the highway will be swingable, so that high loads will be able to go underneath. That was one of the items that we had to address because it's a high load corridor, so the cost for that was under our estimated value though.
No, thanks for that, because we get really different questions when items like this come up. Thank you.
Director Kennedy, with respect to the speed limit on 54, will that be reduced at the time this project goes forward, or?
Correct. To Mayor Barkley, so yes, we did put the application in to reduce to 70. They told us that would happen once this work is done, so
Okay.
kind of in conjunction with the two.
Okay, no, thank you. Okay, so we have a motion to go with border paving. All in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you. And we will move on to 7.1, request for decision on 61 Avenue Special Tax Bylaw.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Barkley. So I have two special tax bylaws for you today. The first one being 61st Avenue. 61st Avenue was, the reconstruction was completed back in 2020, with the first special tax bylaw coming before council in 2021 for approval. This year would mark year 4 out of the 15-year repayment schedule. The repayment schedule is earmarked to bring back an estimated $88,000 over the next, or over the 15 years from completion. Yeah, so this is, like I said, year 4. It should generate $5,875 in revenue for this calendar year, and that will get put back into the reserves to repay that portion of taxes, of the special tax that we're recouping for those costs. Yeah, so we'll take any questions for council, but again, this is year 4 of a 15-year special tax repayment. Again, the financial is $58.75 that we're supposed to be generating this year. The notices will go out in mid-April for payment to be due at the end of June 30th, along with regular taxes.
Okay, thanks, Director Vickers. Could I please have someone give first reading for this bylaw?
I'll move that council accepts and gives 2024 61st Avenue Special Tax Bylaw first reading.
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any comments? Okay, well, I will once again, year 4, I will not be supporting this again. Again, it's not about the money, it's really about the principle, and I think it's important that all of our roads in our community are up to a certain standard, including the industrial park, and I see it's such a competitive landscape out there, and there's a lot of municipalities offering tax incentives, and yeah, I just think that the tax base, the whole tax base can make these improvements. So I will leave it at that. You've heard my story before, and I'm sure you're tired of hearing it. So, Councillor Maceros.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. If we voted against passing this, what would we need to do in terms of our budget to make changes? I guess through Mayor Barkley to Director Vickers.
Mayor Barkley through to Councillor Mazzaro. So if this special tax bylaw does not get passed in a future council meeting, I will bring a budget adjustment to basically take this expense away, or take the revenue away and the corresponding expense. So the revenue is from the tax revenue, and the expense is essentially that transfer to reserve to kind of recoup this expense. So I would just bring a budget adjustment to wipe both sides of that out.
Okay, Councillor Bates.
Well, I guess I feel like deja vu too. Just to remind, I guess when this was done, and I can't even remember for the like of me where I was on the decision, but I know the decision to do this work was, it involved meetings with the folks, town open houses. There was a ton of collaboration. They participated in the curb design, which isn't even part of the cost. It became, after it was done, to decide how much to charge, and 15% of the paving only was the number that I remember it came to, and that's what we're being asked to approve on an annual basis. I do believe they have increased value and enjoyment of their lots. They were all sold to them initially without paving and without curbs, and I know there was a huge amount of drainage problems, and all of that was woven into this, and it is a very small assessment relative to the increase in the property enjoyment, I think, and use. So from those years of council, I tend to support it because I went through all of those discussions, and I guess the way I look at it, if we change it now, then we are, I think the mayor just said it, we are downloading, she didn't use that word, the last 15% to the general tax base, which not sure that's fully fair. And that would amount to, over the entire time, I guess we've collected 3 years now. So over the time remaining, it would amount to near 1% on a one-year basis of what our tax to everybody would be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hystad?
Yeah, I think the train's left the station, and I'm calling the question so that we can move on. Thanks.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor. All in favor? Okay, and opposed? Okay, and then I'll please have someone give second reading.
Mayor
Councillor
Barkley,
Dunham?
I move the council accepts and gives 1724-2024 61st Avenue Special Tax Bylaw second reading.
Okay, and I will support this because I don't want to hold it up for another couple of weeks when you're on the losing battle, but all in favor? Okay, and then we'll have council give consideration to third reading, please. Councillor Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I move that council gives consideration for 1724-2024 61st Avenue Special Tax Bylaw, third reading.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, and then I'll please have someone give third and final reading. Councillor Hystad.
The council accepts and gives number 1724, 2024, 61st Avenue Special Tax Bylaw, third and final reading.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, and I will be opposed. Thanks, carried. Okay, we'll move on to 7.2.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Barkley. So as with the first report, this is also a special tax bylaw. However, it's for 37th Street. 37th Street reconstruction did occur in 2021, and the first special tax bylaw came before council in 2022. This bylaw also had a 15-year repayment schedule for 15% of the paving cost. The total paving cost was sit at just over $500,000, and the paving portion was $75,068.25. Broken out over 15 years, that equals to $5,004.55. And we are now in the third year. 2024 will be the third year out of 15 for repayment schedule, ending in 2036. And again, tax notices will go out mid-April for all residents to have.
Okay, thank you, Director Vickers. Could I please have someone make the, just need to turn my page here, the first reading, please? Councillor Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I move that council accepts and gives number 1723, 2024 37th Street Special Tax Bylaw, first reading.
Okay, thank you. Any comments? Just one question I have on this, that there's a patch of road along there that is not paved. Is that going to be finished, or?
To Mayor Barkley, that's on the east side of 37th
Yes,
Street.
yeah.
That's part of we have a water main that needs to be replaced
Okay.
there. So it's just tied to that.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so all in favor of first reading? And I'll be opposed. And it's carried, and then we'll move on to second reading, please. Councillor Bates.
I'll move that council accepts and gives number 1723, 2024, 37th Street Special Tax Bylaw second reading.
Okay, any more comments? No, all in favor? Okay, and then we'll give consideration for third reading, please.
I move that council gives consideration for 1723, 2024, 37th Street Special Tax Bylaw, third reading.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, and then we'll go to third and final reading. Councillor Dunham.
Mayor Barkley, thank you. I move that council accepts and gives 1723-2024 37th Street Special Tax Bylaw third and final reading.
Okay, thank you. In favor? Okay, and opposed? Okay, carried. And we will move on to 7.3, repeal and approve employee policies.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Barkley. So we do have before you the repealing of our employee policy. And we have this before you because administration has been tasked with modernizing the current employee policy under the strategic priority of a continued review and updating of the town bylaws and policies. So 41 new administrative policies have been developed to be approved by the CAO. A list of the new policies is provided below with this RFD. And all approved town policies, both administrative and council, are available for public viewing on the town's website. So the list is there for you. The current employee policy was approved by council back in 2021, as well as 5 additional HR-related council policies are required to be appealed to follow for the adoption of the new employee policy manual. Administration is recommending that the draft general holidays policy, so that's 2024-001, be considered for council approval and remain a council policy as it deals with the holidays where town operations are closed and unavailable to the public. As aware for communication, we do have 2 full days of training later this week, March 27th and 28th, where all staff will be in attendance to one of these sessions to receive training on these new employee policies. Each employee will receive a package of the new policy manual and be given a few weeks to read all policies and then sign a form acknowledging that they have reviewed and understand the contents of the employee manual. So I can take any questions if you'd like of any of the other policies that were approved or anything like that.
Sure. Does anybody have any questions for Director Vickers on policies? Councillor Bates?
I guess the only question I have, because there's a massive amount of stuff there, the only question I would have is that everything that is there is basically how we administered employee policies in 2023?
Mayor Barkley, through to Councillor Bates. So everything that was in our current employee policy has been expanded into a new policy with little change. However, there is some new policies. For example, we did not have a discipline policy before. So that is a brand new policy that we will be implementing going forward. That will just provide guidance to our supervisors and managers so that we can see all employees get provided the same discipline equally across the board.
I just want to, I'm not sure how to express it. I just want to make sure that we're not approving some new policy that wouldn't be, let's say, in sync with another municipality, or, you know, that we were adding to our cost of policies.
Right, so Mayor Barkley, through to Councillor Bates, none of the policies here have any increased financial obligations on council. Everything is exactly the same as it was before, outside of some regulatory policies that just help guide our staff in how they administer HR to our employees.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Could I please have someone make the first motion?
I'll make the recommendation. The council approves repealing the following council policies. Do I have to read each policy?
Yes, I'd say just as presented. I
Okay,
think would be fine.
as presented.
Okay.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, yes. Okay, any further questions? All in favor? Okay, carried. And then we have the second motion, please, on the general holidays. Councillor Dunham?
Mayor Barkley, I move that council approves general holidays policy 2024-001.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? I think this is the same as it has been, so, yes. All in favor? Okay, carried. Okay, and then Director Vickers again. Director Vickers today, budget adjustments on 7.4, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Barkley. This is the last one. This is really just a cleanup of our financial system, just with some past motions that council had made in the past. It just is causing some follow-through for some budget adjustments to happen. So the first one was at the February 12th council meeting. Administration presented third and final reading for the traffic bylaw, which council approved at that meeting. Inside that traffic bylaw included amendments to deal with vehicle noise, excessive vehicle noise. So at that day, Manager Leith detailed the different training and equipment costs that would be required, and we have now detailed those costs out, and they are listed below here. So training for up to 8 members, 4 sound meters, and 2 meter calibrators with adapters is coming out to $6,833.50, needing a budget adjustment for that. And the second adjustment was at the March 11th, 2024 council meeting, where administration brought forward a request for funding by the Innisfil Citizens on Patrol for $5,000 to fund some of their new startup costs. That was approved as well. So under financial impacts, you'll see the following adjustments to the different accounts that need to be made. There will be no effect on our contingency, so that will remain at 0, as well as I'm looking at a transfer to reserve amount from our operating reserve, with just a note that when the 2023 audit is finalized in mid-April, we'll be bringing in a transfer to reserve update, and that will include the operating reserve. So we'll see the balance and what recommended monies back into from the surplus we'll be recommending at that time too, to kind of offset these.
Okay, thank you, Director Vickers. Could I please have someone make the recommended motion? Councillor Hystad?
Yeah, the council approves the recommended budget adjustments.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions? I think we've been through all this, so all in favor? Okay, carried. So we will get back to our proposed amendments. So I'll invite Manager Shaw to come back up. We'll go into 8.1 with the Dodds Lake Outline Plan.
Mayor and Council, you'll now be dealing with the outline plan itself. Now, outline plans, as I indicated, are adopted through resolution and not through bylaw. So in this example, you don't have to go like second and third readings. It's simply, this is the resolution and this is what we're adopting. So we have 3 motions that we would, or following resolutions, to amend the Dodds Lake Outline Plan. And as I indicated in our presentation, these are technical related amendments. The amount of land was for this particular development was already included in the table list of statistics for this plan area. It's just that it's moving from a R1B to an R3 designation. And I know that doesn't sound very exciting, but it's basically saying that we're going to have more people on this piece of property than what we had originally decided on when the plan was adopted last year. So again, very technical in these discussions. So we have to change some text in the bylaw, as you can see in the first resolution, in which it's dealing with multifamily sites, because originally the original text was it was just dealing with 2 specific sites. Here we're now broadening that out so that we include a 3rd site. So we've tried to go a little bit more generic so that should there be other amendments in the future, those could be captured under this particular resolution. And then the second resolution would be to deal with that table 1, which deals with the land use statistics, moving one use to another use, and then calculating what the population density would be. And then finally, your final resolution would be dealing with the land use concept map, which now shows it as being R1B. This would now change it to R3. So that, in essence, is what you're looking at doing today with the outline plan itself.
Okay, thank you, Manager Shaw. So could I please have someone make the recommended motion, and you can just say as presented instead of reading that whole piece. It's quite long, so Councillor Dunham.
Mayor Barkley, I move that council approves the following resolution to amend the Dodds Lake outline plan as, sorry, what was the terminology?
Just as presented.
As presented. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments for Manager Shaw? Councillor Harrison, then Councillor Bates.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Barkley, through to Manager Shaw. I don't know if this is the place to ask this question, but in your initial presentation a few minutes ago, you talked about a 12-meter buffer and a 30-meter buffer. Could you just go over that again so that I'm clear with that?
So with respect to this particular property, in our land use bylaw, there's a section that deals with setback requirements. There's a setback requirement of 12 meters from the top of bank for this property. 30 meters, generally, if this property were to be subdivided, we would look at having some type of environmental reserve and municipal reserve along the shoreline of the property. However, in this instance, the property is not being subdivided. It will be developed as a whole parcel as opposed to being developed into multi properties. So that's where that 30 meter would come in. And as I said, the 12 meter is what we're working with right now through the land use bylaw. So there would be no building envelope that could encroach on that 12 meters from the top of bank. And the top of bank itself is actually quite a ways away from the shoreline. You can see in the diagram or the figure here, it would be hard to pinpoint exactly where the top of bank is, but you can see like the lake itself, the shoreline, and then you have some green area. So roundabout in that basically where the brown turns over into green is your top of bank.
So just expanding on that, so it's 12 meters from top of bank? Not
12
shoreline.
meters from the top of bank is where the building envelope could be.
Okay.
So there would be nothing in between that 12 meters to the top of bank.
Okay, thank you very much.
Building envelope.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Harrison. Councillor Bates.
If we could just scroll back to that resolution. So we're changing the sentence to R2 duplex and R3 townhomes. Would there be a difference between R2 duplex and R3 townhomes? Like we're putting them together here, would there have been a difference in, a significant difference in?
Through the
Because
chair,
it was R2 duplex at one point, right?
through the chair to Councillor Bates. So in the land use plan itself, it does divide out R2, R3, R4, like also R1, 1B as well. So in here, what we're doing is we are changing the land use from R1B to R3.
Right.
But the way that the sentence is reading here is that it also talks about other areas within the plan. And so that's the reference to the R2 duplex
Okay.
and R3 townhomes.
Thank you.
So while we are keeping the construct of the sentence as much as possible, we also felt that it was necessary to broaden it a little bit with respect to the R3 land use district, because as I said, it's not just two parcels that are going to be R3. We're now adding a third one, and it's quite possible in the future you may get another one. So we wanted to try to keep it as broad as possible, but still keep to the nature of that sentence.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Bates. Anybody else have any questions? Councillor Maceros?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley, through to Manager Shaw. Just because these public hearings are all a little bit different, can you just remind me again, when and how do the questions and concerns from the gallery today get addressed?
So Mayor and Council, those would be addressed at the development review stage. So in this particular district, apartments are considered a permitted use under this district. However, the development officer could bring forward this application to the Municipal Planning Commission if there are a need to have variances to the development proposal, or if it's felt that it needed to be brought forward to the Planning Commission. But it is a permitted use within the R3 district. So many of the concerns that you heard about today, those will be forwarded to the development officer so that when she is reviewing this file, then she can take that into consideration.
Can I just add, I guess, just on the, I think your question kind of went to the structure of it. So when people do speak in the public hearing, you know, they're providing their information to council. There's not necessarily an obligation for the questions that they ask to be answered to them. If council would like answers to those questions as well, you can ask those back to administration. But the public hearing is essentially sort of that one-way conversation from the public to council.
Okay. So I'm just kind of thinking back to the public hearing we had a few months ago and the discussion about whether the road would be capable of carrying the construction vehicles and weight. And this person that spoke today in the gallery said that roadway is, I don't know, I think they commented on how old that roadway, 50 years old. So is that something, when does that get discussed?
Yeah, I can comment. I believe that roadway was actually replaced in, I'd have to get the year, but it definitely had some main replacement done on that roadway. So it has been replaced probably in the last 15 years. In regards to construction traffic, I think all of our roads are built to accommodate some heavier use traffic. It's not constant. So it's something we would have to monitor though and track as development happens.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions? No, then I'll ask the question. All in favor of this motion? Okay, unanimous. And then we will move on to 8.2 with the second and third readings of Bylaw 1470, A80.
So Mayor and Council, this particular report deals with the actual amendment to the land use bylaw, changing the land use district from R1B to R3. And so this is done by formal motions of council. And so we have before you two motions, one that deals with second reading to the bylaw and one that deals with third reading to the bylaw itself. So council does have many options when they're considering these bylaws. You've heard from the public through the public hearing process, as well as from the developer and administration. And so these are the two recommended motions that we have before you today.
Okay, thank you, Manager Shaw. So could I please have someone make the first recommended motion? Councillor Maceros?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. I'd like to move that council grant second reading to bylaw number 1470-A80, being a bylaw to amend the land use zoning of property legally described as Plan S, Block A, and civically described as 5052 59th Street from residential single-family district R1B to residential multifamily district R3.
Okay, thank you. Any comments? Councillor Bates?
Yeah, just one. Just to comment. And I realized the process and that this could wind up at MPC and whatever, but I think the only concern I heard from the gallery that we should be watching is the parking. I personally, yeah, the street, that's all part of our town being structurally sound. I have a lift station in my backyard. You never hear it. Down the road as this proceeds, I think, if somebody has a big party, where do they park? Those are the things that other than that, I'm certainly on board with proceeding.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hystad?
I've never been invited to a party at your house, so, no, I think that we heard from the gallery today, and I would agree with Councillor Bates, and I don't think he'll invite me over now. I think this is, to me, is a no-brainer for moving forward in the north area of Dodds Lake. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So Manager Shaw, did you want to say something? Add something?
So, Mayor and Council, with respect to the question on parking, in the land use bylaw, the parking requirements are set out for apartments, which is 1 suite per dwelling unit. So in this proposal, it is 12 suites. So you're talking about 12 suites 12 parking stalls for the individual units, plus you are supposed to have 1 stall for every 5 dwelling units. So a total of approximately 14 or 15 stalls would be required for this development, which would be located on site of the development.
Okay, thank you. I think it's always a good reminder that the street is for public use. It doesn't belong to any of us, so can park wherever we need to. Any more comments? Just one question, Manager Shaw, I guess a comment that the property line, so running along the lake, is it actually below the bank? It's difficult to tell in.
Mayor and Council, yes, the property line itself, as you can see that white line, and I know it's more difficult to see as you get closer to the lake, but in essence,
It's actually more difficult to see as you get older.
It falls below the top of bank.
Yeah.
So you can see that it does have direct access to Dodds Lake, but any development with any building would have to be set back 12 meters from the top of bank itself.
Okay, no, that's perfect, thank you.
I can just add as well, top of bank is something defined in the Surveys Act too, that how it's specifically defined.
Yes,
so.
yeah, okay, thank you, both of you. Okay, any more questions? No? Okay, so we have a motion on the table, all in favor? Okay, carried unanimously, and then we'll have some please make the next motion to grant 3rd reading. Councillor Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I move that council grants 3rd reading to bylaw number 1470-80 as presented.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Last chance? No? All in favor? Okay, carry unanimously. Thank you. Okay. So we will move on to okay. All right, we will move on to 8.3, the Harvest Festival sponsorship.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. So we're looking to present a motion made by the Community Services Standing Committee regarding event sponsorship for the 2024 Harvest Fest, hosted by the Innisfail Special Events Planning Society. So on March 13th, the Community Services Standing Committee made the following motion, that the committee recommends that council consider the Innisfail Harvest Fest for annual sponsorship. So the Harvest Fest is an annual two-day community event hosted in September each year that focuses on free family fun with an agriculture theme. 2024 will be the third year of the event, and the Community Benefit Grant Program has supported the event in 2022 and 2023 in the amount of $1,100. So the Community Benefit Grant distributes $10,000 annually through the committee. This year, the program received $54,000 in requests from 9 different community organizations. So as part of the committee's deliberations, a motion was made for council to consider annual sponsorship of this event outside of the grant program in a way that has been done for the rodeo, the Kinnet, Dinner of Diamonds, and various golf tournaments. So as part of the committee's deliberations, they did not allocate any funding to the Harvest Fest this year. The community benefit is the funds that we receive, or a portion of the funds that we receive from Elemental Energy as part of our solar lease agreement. So for the other sponsorships that council typically considers, they come out of council's advertising and promotions expense line. And yeah, just looking for consideration and potentially a motion to support the Harvest Fest.
Okay, thank you, Director Jenkins. Would I please have someone make a recommended motion and put an amount in there, potentially $1,100 possibly, or?
I would like to move that council provide sponsorship to the 2024 Harvest Fest in the amount of $1,100 to be funded from the 2024 operating budget.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Maceras. Any comments? It didn't have to be that amount, but.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Being part of the CSC committee, I obviously was not able to vote on this because I'm part of council as well, but I just want to let you know is that the intention wasn't to try and download more onto council. However, because it's an annual sponsorship, and really the idea behind the community grants is a grant, so it's things starting off in that annual, it just, with having $54,000 worth of requests and only a limited amount of money, it just seemed more appropriate to land in our lap. So, thank you.
No, for sure. Thank you for that. Maybe, I don't know, it might be an opportunity to look at more community benefit agreements going forward. Hint, hint. Okay. So we have a motion on the table. All in favor? All right, carried unanimously. Thank you. And we'll move into correspondence and information. So quite a bit of correspondence here. Anybody's ready? We'll just have somebody please make a motion to accept the correspondence as information. Councillor Maceras.
Thanks. I just wanted to make a comment about the correspondence and the circular nature of some of the responses back to you.
I have one more I forgot to forward to Juanita, but it's the same theme.
Okay. All right. Anyway, I move that we accept the correspondence.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Councillor Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Yeah, there's a date in here for the age-friendly presentations at Government House in Edmonton, April the 12th. So I just want to bring that up and let administration deal with that. Thank you.
CEO Becker?
Mayor Barkley, to Councillor Harrison's point, we want to make sure you're aware of the award and the event. Put it to you, council, if you wish to attend, some of you, or 4 of you, or 1 of you, and then put it over to the committee. But just put it to you, council, if you wish to attend.
Okay, thank you. Would the best thing to do, we need to send an invite out and then people can say yea or nay, and I know some of us are away, so that'd be great. Thank you, and congratulations. It's been many years of work. Councillor Bates?
Yeah, just a question. So we don't want to overwhelm it versus, I guess, the committee, and so just that caution. Or somebody give me clarification as to how many, how big is this?
I think, Mayor Barkley, if council, if we had 4 or more express interest, great. Put it to the committee and we'll try to achieve balance. Obviously, you'd like to have committee members attending, but if council wishes to go, then we'll put it back to you that we have too many, but that'd be a great problem to deal with. If council wishes to attend, we can figure that out.
Councillor Dunham?
Thanks, Mayor Barclay. Well, I know Mayor Barclay, myself, and Councillor Mazzaros will all be at the CD conference in Kananaskis, so that strikes three of us right there.
Councillor Hystad?
I was looking to party with Gavin or maybe Dawn, but my recommendation is if we're going to stay at the Days Inn or the Comfort Inn, we better bring our brass knuckles. No, gotta have some fun. No, I'll consider it. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, it'd be great to have some of the committee members go, especially, you know, those that've been on there a long time, so that's great. Okay, we do have a motion, I believe. All in favor? Okay, carried, thanks. And we'll move into council reports. We'll begin with Councillor Dunham today.
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. My report is there. Any questions, please do let me know. One thing I do want to touch on is the March 21st, the Seniors Lodge program engagement that I had with Parkland Foundation. So much of what we've been talking about in the community, and it was really good to see so many people attending throughout Central Alberta, and really the outside of the box thinking that was going on at that about, you know, if we could dial it back 50 years, what would we do different? And what can we do different going forward? And how are we going to advocate to the government for the needs of our seniors? So that was a wonderful engagement. Really enjoyed that. This week coming up, I've got the CSSC meeting for the community awards, and then the CED advisory group on Thursday.
Okay, thank you. I'm guessing the baby boomers that are now senior age will change things, have different demands.
Yeah, well, it's interesting too, because that big curve, baby
Yeah.
boomers that drop
Yeah.
off, what are you going to do with those spaces afterwards? And that was a huge part of the discussion too.
Yeah. No, thanks. Councillor Harrison?
Thank you, Mayor Barclay. I had one meeting last week, and that was RDR MUG, and it was a very interesting meeting. And I can sum it up very quickly by saying there's still a lot of chaos in government. They really don't know what, we felt that they didn't know what they were doing. But I'll go through sort of our discussions that we had via Zoom last Thursday. It was well attended. There was 29 participants, municipalities and counties, and we talked primarily about water sharing agreements. And they're not called water sharing agreements now. They've changed the name to memorandums of understanding. And what that means is that there's probably a more legal kind of connotation with that. And up until last week, and they've had 3 workshops in February and March with invited participants, and that was based on size of licenses, and there was a number of criteria to get an invite to these workshops, was that they had not the wrong people in the room, but the different crowd. They had the technical people that understood water. And when you get into a memorandum of understanding, it's a legal signing, and CEOs of Nova and the big industry, everybody sort of went, whoa. There was a reluctance to sign any of these memorandums of understanding. So it's back on the table, and the anticipated date for presentation of these MOUs is mid-April. And the government and the different user groups are working feverishly on getting the wording around that. So it's going to be interesting to see. Usually when you get lawyers involved, it takes time. And everybody's agreed the time is of the essence here. We don't have a bunch of time to be fiddling around. So it's going to be interesting to watch this unfold over the next 2 or 3 weeks to see where it comes up. The role of RD MUG, and this came from the government representation at the workshops, was they'd like to see RD MUG become more involved in the advocacy role. And we're going to not struggle with that, but we're going to talk about how we can fill that spot at the table. So we're waiting for the April, sort of mid-April timeframe here before any big decisions are made at RD MUG around this, because we don't know what the government's going to come back with. And Councillor Bates may have some information on his meeting that he had with the Water Commission, and I'll let him speak to that. We did go around, and every community, they're working on their drought management plans, Innisfail included. And so I went through the things that we were looking at, the technical side, and very well received. Ardley came up. That was the dam site just down on the Red Deer River. We've got $5 million for the feasibility study, phase 1 of that project. What that's going to look like, there again, we're waiting till mid-April until we get some more direction or from the government. So I wish I had a little more concrete, but that's about where we sit. Our next meeting will be in May. I would expect, depends upon what's coming out mid-April from the government and these workshops, we may have an emergency meeting to talk about how we go forth. But I can assure you that the water is foremost on everybody's mind along the Red Deer River in more ways than one. Glenifer is, it looks good now, but it's constantly being monitored. There seems to be a feeling that things could go awry in Glenifer, so the government's really watching what's happening there. So there again, I won't take any more time. I'll yield my time to Councillor Bates here, and he can maybe talk about what he needs. And that's all I had last week. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Harrison and Councillor Bates.
Yeah, so my report is there as well. I guess specific to, I'll leave everything there except for the water. It was my understanding that our CAO of the commission did join the MUG Zoom and provide them with some of that background on the water sharing discussions. And it's still somewhat in the air and somewhat confusing. We're having another quick meeting this Wednesday to review where we think we should go. And yeah, I can't really say much more than that because of things that are somewhat confidential. With respect to the suggestion that we made, that was adopted as the drought discussion path forward, being the technical committee within the commission establishing an overarching template that the members would then use for their drought management discussions. And I think I'll leave it at that. Yeah, this week, I don't think I have a whole lot. Late in the week, I'll be family distracted with the granddaughter that won provincials in Ringette is now going to actually be playing against British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba at the end of the week. So it's kind of cool.
All right, thank you, Councillor Bates and Councillor Maceros.
Thank you, Mayor Barkley. Last week, I had the chamber board meeting, and lots of work is being done by the board members there related to finances and human resources. And we've got our trade show coming up, of course, and 51 booths have been rented out for that. On Friday, it's not strictly council related, but I attended the Red Deer Local Immigration Partnership meeting that was hosted by CARE, Central Alberta Refugee Effort, and CAPE. And Mayor Barkley and Manager Shaw spoke on a panel there, and one of the things that was talked about was the workplace inclusion charter commitments, and there was a table activity to see asking each of the members at the table to discuss what we might do with some of these commitments, what steps we might take. And we were answering, I was thinking about this in terms of belonging to the town of Innisfail as my organization or our organization. And it was interesting to note that we're doing lots of the commitments on this workplace inclusion charter commitment document already. And I guess just a note that the town of Innisfail, as an employer, could sign on to this workplace inclusion charter commitment, but I guess Gordon could talk about that. That would be up to him to bring that. But it was interesting to be part of that and see where we fit on that spectrum. This week, I'm going to be attending the Equus AGM, and that's it for me.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Maceras and Councillor Hystad.
I've been bad again. The only thing that I have is that if I was going to look at any of my work was AB Munis. That was it. And then I got to do my timesheet tomorrow because Jean and I had a discussion about that. Thanks.
Okay, in my reports in the package here, I would just say the Central Alberta Child Advocacy Centre engagement was cancelled. It's kind of like booking a tea time. You know, it's raining all day and you have a tea time at 5 and cancel it because it's raining and then the sun comes out. It's exactly what happened that evening. Mayor Yargeau decided to cancel because he was, you know, there's some members that travel quite a distance, so he canceled. And then by 5 o'clock, of course, the sun was shining. So we'll probably do that again in June at our next meeting. Just want to say thanks to Manager Shaw for presenting at the Red Deer Local Immigration Partnership event on Friday. Of course, shared his personal story and as well as the rural renewal stream. So I believe he said 199 applications, letters of support have been provided through that, and there was, I think, 86 or 88 approvals so far. So I understand that there's only so many approvals that come through per province, and things kind of slowed down last year. I got this through somebody else, not through Manager Shaw, but things kind of slowed down at the end of the year because everything was full. And then come January 1st, it opened up again with a new allotment. So that's why there's been a lot of approvals lately. So it was great to hear, and glad that is moving forward for businesses in our community. So nothing further to add to that. We will move into upcoming events. And just have somebody please make a motion that we accept the upcoming events as information. Councillor Dunham.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? And then a motion to go in camera, please.
I'll make that motion to go in camera.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Okay, thanks.